you, but that's almost never the case.
Oh,
I
wow.
think they're not there to co-teach with us. It's more of a sort of supervise.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is so different.
I think that's always been the case, and I've met teachers in the program from this school and other schools. I think it's pretty much the same in other schools.
Really? Even it's so strange. I met teachers from New Taipei, but what they told me was a different story though. Maybe, well, I haven't met everybody, of course. Okay, so that's why I think the discussion like this will help, because so now people can know what to expect. Okay, so who has been teaching so far? Okay, have you been doing collaborative teaching or not? Okay, please share your experience.
Okay, mine is very ideal. I'm sorry for you guys. That is not collaborative teaching. So I had a meeting with our teachers, Ashley, Willie, and Mark, and my director is very supportive. So they teach the first 20 minutes, and then I teach the next.
And can you talk about, like, just briefly talk about what the local teacher does and what do you do from there?
They teach the pages, maybe let's say page 16, 17 of a particular part of the book, and then I have a conversation about, for example, time at that level. And the teacher requires 5 minutes at the end to recap. So with Ashley, she uses, like there are 6 approaches to collaborative teaching, so she uses 1, 2, and the last one. The other 2, we don't have the team collaborative chemistry.
Okay, I see. So for that particular teacher,
Yes,
you have
we have a meeting every 2 weeks with our director, and we can talk about things openly.
Okay.
So it's working out. I hope it continues like that.
So do you expect things to work like what you have with Ashley, with other local teachers as well?
Everyone's not the same. Ashley is like more a classroom pedagogist, and Willie is more of a philosopher, and he likes to speak about life and philosophy with kids. And Mark is our social addict. Children just are in his face all the time. He has high levels of patience. He spends a lot of money with those chocolates and everything that I mostly eat. Yeah, so everyone's got a different strategy.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Okay, anybody else would like to share their collaborative teaching experience?
Yes, in my school with my co-teacher, we have differences when it comes to disciplining students in the classroom. You find that I'm used to the situation where I'm teaching, the students must listen to me, and then they mustn't talk to each other. And then you find her saying, no, you have to just let them do whatever they want to do. And they say, no, I can't teach while other students are talking. So it's the differences.
Okay. Now, I would like to get into that too, just explaining what the Taiwanese children are like. And for those teachers who taught here for a long time, of course, you guys have a pretty clear idea about that too. But I would just like to share my experience, and maybe you'd like to share yours. Okay. So I'm very sorry to hear that you have this problem with your school. But is it collaborative teaching what you're doing?
It's not a problem.
Oh, it's not a problem.
It's not a problem, but I don't know whether the other teachers are experiencing what I'm experiencing about disciplining, classroom.
That's always a problem, not just between you and the local teacher. It's between the local teacher from another local teacher as well. Okay, between the 2 local teachers. Because, the 2 teachers teaching the same class might have a different style of how they discipline the children. Okay, so that's not just your problem. Okay, it's a problem for every teacher in the school. So do you do collaborative teaching, or just you teach the whole class? Yeah. So how you teach the first 40 minutes?
Just teach the whole period.
Whole period. That's not collaborative teaching.
I don't know.
Okay.
Nobody knows what it is.
Okay. Like I said, it's a pretty new style for some schools. Okay. And for Chang, it's a special case because they knew Gabriel so well. They know that Gabriel can handle the whole class. So they entrust him with this huge task.
No, this goes for all the new teachers.
Really?
Yeah, yep, every time.
It's supposed to do collaborative teaching, okay?
No.
That's the.
How do you how would you address that if you, as a new teacher walk in?
It depends on if it is a bother to you. If you feel like, how come I'm doing all the work? Or some teachers feel like, oh, I love the control. The whole class is mine. I can do whatever I want. So everybody feels differently about Okay, and yes, go ahead. I'm pretty much done. You want to ask something?
Okay, yes, I wanted to ask. So I have four co-teachers. The style of teaching is really quite different. And I have some of my teachers who like, okay, so today I have maybe 2 or 3 classes for the classroom teacher. And then she'll just come to me maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes before the class starts. She'll like, Cindy, today we're teaching them this. Okay. Like, right now, like, you need to teach them this.
Okay. See, that's a problem that you should definitely direct them to Joyce and Pam, because that's not your problem. The problem is with the school. They should have had a regular meeting with you and discuss how you will teach the whole class for the next week or for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, that's exactly what you need, but the school's not providing you that. So we'll come back to that, after this. Okay, so we'll see what we can do about that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think, if you don't mind, I'll share my experience as a new teacher. No meeting, none whatsoever, except saying hello, good morning, have a cup of coffee with the principal, and that was it. And, then after the Chinese New Year, I go to the school, I don't know who it is, and I just thought I'd be me. And I'll be honest with all of you. Number one, I am collaborative teaching because I've initiated that. But what am I doing? Verbal. They said, oh, you're going to teach the whole class? I said, no, I don't know the students. I don't know you. I respect you. And I want to just express, I'm here to support what you do. If I can give you something through my experiences to make a difference, then that's my role. And the beautiful part is I've got 8 teachers with about 22 lessons, so 18 different classes. And it's going fabulously because I've taken charge of my experience to know I could get swarmed into them thinking I'm doing 40 minutes, or they could get the best out of me. And I've established that at the beginning with no meeting, with nobody giving me anything, just a timetable that was in Chinese interpreted into English. And I've developed that I will not teach the textbook. Let me just establish a trust with the students. It's verbal, it's get them to speak. My name is very long, which I think most of you don't know. It's Sharan Thini. That started the syllable talking on the first day, and then now we've gone into greetings and asking me questions. I'm going to approach weather next week. So very general, and the teachers, bless them, have accepted that for them too to trust me, it's working beautifully.
Is their lesson the weather next week?
No, they're teaching, because see, here's the other thing, it's just come up with someone saying they have a curriculum, I think you were telling me, and they've got to finish it. So of course I've come in cold turkey, I have no idea, and then I'm being told that they have to finish 3 lessons before the midterm or first exams. And that's fair, that I have to respect that and understand that those are students who've got something as a destiny to 2 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it is. So I told the teachers, please keep going. I'm not here for 1 month or 2 months. I'm here for 1.5 years. And change is not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen step by step. The professor used that this morning. I said that on my first meeting with them. I said, step by step, please expect change. If it's meant to happen, let me get to know his style. So I've got some amazing teachers. One of them teaches just like you and I would. And then I've got another few that just speak 100% almost in Chinese. So I've gently said, please bring in 50% of English in the English teaching classes. And I initiated a meeting on Monday because I know all the English teachers are free. And I said, I need to know. It's not about a meeting every Monday. I'm not in charge of it, but I have to know what you want of me. And we're going to get no planning time. So what I want to share was that as a brand new teacher in Taiwan, I've taken on the strength of who I am to say, I got to initiate this, otherwise it's going to be a zoo and a mess. And based on that, I'm extremely happy. I love my school.
Thank you. I think it's a very valuable opinion. So, of course, we will, with the communication thing, we will ask Joyce and Pamela to establish that for you guys. But if you guys want to take this take the matter into your own hands and talk to the academic director and establish a meeting schedule, establish the protocol, especially I know that Yang Mei primary school, they are quite new in the foreign teachers, so that's why they are always in a panic. 10 minutes before class, they don't know what to do. So, of course, it will be better if you can take charge, okay? And just speak to the academic director and say that you would like to establish a protocol for this, okay? You don't want to be notified, want to teach at the last minute, and you shouldn't have to, okay? And any other people would like to share your collaborative teaching style?
I just want to say I do teach in the collaborative English classes, but we also have some interdisciplinarity going on, and we do it in health and art. So in the interdisciplinary classes, there's more Chinese spoken by their English Chinese teacher, and then I just like do a little conversation in English. So that's even working out. So I hope that happens with you guys.
Well, okay, so, well, I haven't taught yet here, but I was thinking, okay, let's go with her example of supporting the local teacher plan, hopefully with notice, and you get, a couple of weeks in to prepare.
Your school,
Your
school is, trust me, your school is very experienced.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I can support what their lesson will be.
I don't know the way they do
No.
things, but from what I heard, they work with a lot of foreign teachers. So I believe they will be taking the roles,
The lead? Okay.
yeah, to lead you.
So just,
Okay, yeah.
let's just go with that.
Actually, from the English Resource Center, they they think you are the best person for that school because that
Okay.
school is very picky about teachers.
I know.
Only with your criteria, they believe that you can handle the school.
Have you seen the neighborhood?
4楼的哪里？
Is it good or bad?
Gee, it is
好
swanky.
，OK，
Really?
Oh,
好
yeah.
好拜。
It's near the art center.
Okay.
So I'm thinking a lot of these kids have had a lot of English as well.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of foreign stuff around.
Yeah, I believe with the more developed areas, you'll find that the children speak a lot more English because with richer parents, they get more education after school.
And they get to
Okay.
travel more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to ask everybody. So in my case, I feel like, just like yours, it's just like this a side person. Really, like the co-teacher is really just not existent in the class besides managing. So how would you suggest to increase the cooperation? Because I speak Chinese to them, and they still just like, it's okay. It's whatever you want to do.
Excellent question.
And like, how can I increase the cooperation? Because I don't want to be the sage on the stage.
Yeah, the bad
I
guy.
don't want to be the foreigner that is imposing this English already on these kids,
Pushing everybody.
pushing everyone on this, in perpetuating the dominance of the English Empire. I want to be engaging in more of a cooperative.
The dominance of the
Yes.
Colonize this.
I want to engage in more cultural exchange and more collaboration with the co-teachers, but they just act like submissive little. So I want to see how can we encourage cooperation. Do you guys have any suggestions?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Take this up.
The biggest problem you have, is that Taiwan teaching practice is teacher-centered, right? The teachers stand there, spew out their stuff. The kids absorb it. They're not encouraged to be active students. They're not encouraged to ask questions or be in charge of their own education, right? They're just encouraged to remember and regurgitate, right? Yes. So you can't change the culture of a country in 20 minutes, right? So the only thing you can really do is kind of find ways to motivate them to put their hand up, right? After you've done that, it only takes about 2 or 3 weeks, but after you've done that, it's like very confident.
For me, it's not the issue with the students' participation, but the teacher, the co-teacher's participation.
Yeah, but the problem you have there is that the teachers are under pressure from the manager. This is kind of another thing that I disagree with the prof on, because a lot of what he said is kind of garbage, because the school, the teacher is under pressure to finish the book that they've been given, right? within a certain amount of time. So whether or not the low-level students are doing well or whether the kids understand that book is irrelevant as long as they fill the blanks in and they've got lots of ticks, right? They've also got other kind of marks and duties to the education department which they have to do, right? So they kind of are human beings that want to go home to the families at the end of the day, right? And they kind of see us either as a pain in the arse because we've just taken half of their lessons away and they still have to complete that book in the time, right? Or they see us as a little bit of relief in order to get the overwhelming amount of paperwork that they have to do done, right? So, in my, and I'm only going to talk about me because that's my ego. In my case, I can teach with or without a co-teacher, right? If she wants to sit at the back and do her marking, that's fine because I'm experienced enough to be able to handle the class management and bring up motivational techniques and encourage the kids out of their shells. But I agree with you, sometimes in the first couple of lessons, it's like talking to corpses. How are you today? And that's the only reaction that you get. But then you have to give the kids 2 or 3 weeks to get used to you as a person, because most of them are scared shitless of you. And the other thing is, that the culture here has, I'm sure you've heard of it, face. Right? Have you heard of face? Right, no, not face value. Losing face in front of other people. So a lot of the time, the kids will not stand up and say anything because they're scared that they'll mispronounce it or get the answer wrong and lose face in front of their friends. So the first thing that you've had your 20 hours. The first thing that I try and teach them is, because in this culture, if they stand up and get the question right, it's fine. If they get the question wrong, they're berated, right? Really berated by the Chinese teacher. So the first thing I try and kind of teach them is that it's okay. The most important thing is not getting it right, not getting it wrong, but trying. Right? Just try and get the answer. And quite a lot of the time, the kids are kind of like, they say, you know, how do you spell classroom? And the kids are like that. So what? There's kind of 5 kids with a hand up. I'll pick one of the quietest, kind of shyest kids, and I'll go up and I'll go, come on now, kids with it, come on. And more often than not, they know the answer, but they're too scared to try. So you can't rely on the homeroom teacher to get them to do that encouragement and get them to do that contribution, because they don't know how to do it themselves.
So you're saying that the collaboration is due to cultural differences?
I think it's due to cultural differences. I think it's due to educational methods, difference. I used to teach in Geelong a long time ago, and I'm kind of trained in student-centered teaching. And I had my co-teacher actually stop me in the middle of a lesson and told me what I was doing was wrong. Because teacher-centered teachers quite often do not understand student-centered methods, right? And 1 minute he's talking about, Prof was talking about taking into account culture and doing what the school wants, and then the next minute he's talking about student-centered techniques. But the problem is, you know, if you kind of have a game where you're writing words on balls and you're throwing balls around, and the kids are excited and having fun and they're learning from that game, well, he didn't like that because he said he was playing. But the thing is, they still learn from that play, and you might find that your co-teachers don't understand anything other than write it on the board, copy it down, learn it, and repeat it. Right? So, expecting cooperation from your co-teachers is kind of going to get you nowhere. If you're very lucky, and like, lucky over here, then you get occasionally. I'm quite lucky because I'm a control freak, as you probably guessed. I'm not letting go of the mic. But so yes, the Empire. I'm a teacher trainer, and I've been teaching for 35 years. So my opinion is that class management, class discipline, and the work, my responsibility, right? And I don't really want somebody interfering in the way I do things. I can co-teach, but that involves you sitting down with your teacher, planning your lesson, you know, agreeing on teaching strategies, teaching methods, and learning objectives. But the problem is, we are here for different reasons than the Taiwanese teachers. The Taiwanese teachers are here to teach grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. We are really here for conversation, listening, and vocal skills, basically. So the more kind of interactive, jumping around exercises that you can come up with, the better it's going to be. And really, my kind of advice is to only think about what you are happy with within the classroom with your kids. And anything else, sorry.
He like texts the clock.
I have a question. Do you, with your lesson, is it related to your co-teachers?
Well, when I arrived at the school, the director said, write your own curriculum.
Okay.
Right. Which I don't think is necessarily a good thing, because like the one thing I didn't agree with Prof was if the English teacher is teaching one thing
Right.
and we're teaching another thing, it's kind of thingy. So my last 2 lessons were the rules and getting used to me, and identification, getting to know them.
Right.
Now I will design my own lesson, but I will design it around the topic
Right.
that they
Co-teacher is supposed
are
to
doing.
Right. Okay.
But it's not the co-teacher's topic, it's the topic out of the book.
Out of the books. Okay. I'll go with that.
So for example, I'm kind of a mixture between teacher-centered and student-centered. So student-centered is fine, but there are kind of teacher-centered basics that you need to do, which is kind of behavioralism, repetition, choral work, learning. So I have a spelling test at the class. I'm the one that wanted to go home.
No. I'm checking because I want.
So I have a spelling test at the beginning of every week, of every lesson, right? It's very formal, it kind of focuses on consciousness. But I ask my co-teachers to give me the words, right? Because then it comes from them. But then I kind of model my. You're sorry you asked, aren't you? It's because of the British Empire comment.
No, stop it. Colonizing.
So but I'll tell you something now. If you're having trouble motivating your students and getting them to contribute, right? One of the best class management strategies is to put them into teams. Right?
Yes.
If you put them into teams and you give plus points for good work, homework, etc., minus points for not for wrong answers, because that kind of tends to stop them answering again, but for kind of not having homework. Or I have a rule: -1 point. Anybody speaks Chinese, right? Now the thing is, if you have a group of 5 people and you tell them, and each say, well, at the end of the month, most points get a prize. Then if you've got 5 kids and one of them speaks Chinese, the other 4 go, oh, gee, you speak Chinese. You spoke Chinese. And then it becomes
Yeah, so
then it becomes self-policing, right?
Right.
And then a lot of the kind of discipline goes from you, and it becomes self-policing. And another thing is, and then I'll shut up when I've said this. It's not a good idea in any kind of in this kind of environment to walk in there and say, right, rule number 1, this. Rule number 2, this. Because you're imposing your rules on them. What is better to do is say, okay, kids, what makes a good student? What makes a bad student? Be on time, right? Do your homework, right? And then within the point system of the teams, so you have -1 point, -2 point. If they do something wrong, it becomes non-confrontational because you're not saying, right, you've broken my rule. You say, hang on a minute, this is your rule. You created this rule. You created the punishment for it. I'm not punishing you, right? This is your conditions. So if you're having trouble with discipline, teams is kind of have a workshop on Teams. If anybody would like me to send them my PowerPoint.
Sure.
I thank you for your piece.
Sorry,
Can I just reiterate my question?
Can I help you with
Is
that?
that with given limited time with what we have, how can we increase cooperation with our co-teachers?
Exactly.
I don't think you can.
Thank you.
My answer should
I
be.
think your answer was
Isaiah's actually co-teaching right now. I'm not so teaching.
yeah. Because you don't have this, wonderful situation I have. I really sympathize with you because last year I taught at Shunley Elementary and I didn't have co-teacher and it was a disaster, right? Not the school, but in terms of pedagogical goals and stuff like that. What I encourage you to do is to allow red hair to mitigate the situation because it might be too sensitive for you to assert a plan or maybe you might mess up with the initiation process. You've got to have a lot of smooth talk and I've been playing my whole life. That's why I was able to do it, right? But I think if you ask help from Joyce or Leo, they can encourage in a very diplomatic, indirect way to get some kind of support.
Participation. Thank you.
Yes. But he's right, you cannot, I think. Okay, David.
I'll be brief. Holden, is that right?
Sorry, would you take this away from me before I start again?
I'm going to talk about students.
I think you have to consider, what you have to find some common ground with your co-teachers. I do have them. They sort of just supervise. They sit in the back.
Yeah.
Ideally, for the longest time, I was frustrated that I couldn't do what you're trying to get them to do. To participate, to interact, to show the kids that you're a team. And for the longest time, I tried, and it just never worked. It still doesn't work. So I thought, I'm going to try different things. Try to be practical about it and see what gets them to click, to stand up, to want to say stuff. One thing to consider, though, is what you mentioned, Mr.
Just call me Mr. Empire.
Mr. Empire. Mr. Empire was right about, the children being ridiculed, and the same applies to the teachers. They're ridiculed for, saying the wrong answer, for their English not being good enough, and they're also ridiculed for being too good. So the participation becomes very challenging at our level here at this school. The same goes for
Participation of students or teachers?
the students and the teachers too. One day it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, I told my co-teacher, thank you for clarifying, thank you for being an example today. I asked you to stand up and give me your answer to sort of motivate the rest. And she said, I was horrified by that because if I make one mistake, I lose all face as an English teacher. If I speak up in front of the kids and I make one grammatical mistake and any of them catches it, I'm no longer an English teacher. I'm just a person who made a mistake. So you have to be careful. Now, in terms of what steps you can take to get them to speak up, to help you, to be with you, ideally, I know you'd like to sit down with them, discuss lesson plans. It's not going to happen. Okay, hang in there. What has worked for me is grandiose, animated activities with a lot of preparation, cooking lessons, science experiments, Skype conversations with kids from back home. What happens? The quietest co-teacher ever will stand up, start taking pictures, asking questions. How'd you do that? Oh my God, I've never seen that activity before. I want to teach that in my class. So you really have to pique their interest. Again, find some common ground. One of the quietest teachers I've ever had is a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. So I said, let's sit down, let's read a couple of these stories together. Maybe we can simplify the stories and get the kids interested. And that, man, she was right in there, and I want the kids to know all about Sherlock Holmes. So common ground, activities that are, that they'll want to take pictures, videos, things that have to do with your country, where you come from, things, little tricks. I call them tricks, they're not really tricks, but these are the things that Taiwanese teachers I've found are very attracted to. When you bring something into the classroom that they've never seen before, that they've never heard of before, the quietest one of them will stand up and want to say something, want to be the kid, they'll want to play your games. Doesn't always work. In my 5 years here, I've yet to have a lesson where I felt, okay, that was a good lesson, a perfect lesson. Nowhere near, but it takes time, patience. They're quiet. They have a lot on their plate. They've got a lot of grading to do. They have lots of classes, so you have to understand that. But at the same time, you can get them if you sort of develop that personal relationship with them without being inappropriate. Leo, I'll go back to your presentation. There's always something. There's that X factor that'll get them going, and I hope it works for you. But you're right. It's very difficult. It's almost impossible sometimes. It just feels that way.
In defense of Dr. Chen, he was trying to say that we are there to do that, to encourage the local teachers as well, which that's when my ears perked up. I'm like, oh, wait, you mean they're not doing this?
That's one of the
No,
things
I have to
agree
like
with.
help,
That's
you
one of
know,
the things I
get
agree
them
with.
to do these things.
But the
So
trouble-
that's what he's saying, get
That's one
out
of the
there
things I
and
agree with
change
Robert.
the world.
The trouble is that they kind of don't know how to do it.
I don't either.
No,
well,
no, they don't know how to do it.
Exactly, and
Because-
so he was saying foreign teachers should be the example and present,
okay.
and he was asking how
So
to the local
Sorry if
teachers.
I completely screwed up
Just
the answer,
saying.
but
Yeah, we're getting it.
That's
Because
what
I have the same question, like,
There's
how are
no
we supposed to do that?
there's no all-inclusive answer.
yeah,
It's
I
very
think you have to remember
difficult,
that
very
the
hard.
teachers are the same as the students.
I know, and that's the thing, I
Right.
didn't
They-
count on that.
they're not encouraged to kind of come to you and say, oh well, you know, what can we do with this? What kind of activity can you do? They're kind of shy as well,
Right,
and they're kind of just doing things their way.
yeah, that's what you explained to me, so now I feel more on the spot.
So it's
Yeah.
like what he said. All you can do, like I said earlier, is come up with a very engaging lesson, an engaging lesson that will pull the kids in and hopefully pull the teachers in.
okay. So thanks for sharing the very valuable opinions and advices. So just so you know that what Paul said, it is somewhat true with Taiwanese local teachers. Especially Taoyuan City is not the capital. You don't get the best teachers. Okay, the best teachers may not be the ones that in Taoyuan. They're usually in Taipei. Okay, but what we can do is that sometimes you get very lucky. You get teachers like Isaiah's teacher. They have very strong belief in their own education style and their own goals, and they want to participate. And sometimes you have teachers who doesn't really understand the meaning of collaborative teaching. They just thought that, oh, the school assigned a foreign teacher here, so he's going to take charge. Okay, so what I think you can combine their ideas, and what we do is I can help you talk to Joyce, and she will talk to the school, because I believe everybody here, you all have some ideas about your own teaching style, and some of you would like to implement this collaborative teaching style, okay? And if you would like that communicated to the school, we will help you, okay? And thanks for Paul's sharing about the way to engage Taiwanese children. I would like to share something from myself, because I've taught at primary schools for almost 9 years. Like he said, Taiwanese children are very introverted and very shy. So the best way to engage them, to answer your question, to participate, is through team competition. And I know that some teachers don't like the ideas. They think that, why does it always have to be so competitive? But the thing is, Taiwanese children, without a purpose, without a goal, they don't participate. Because that's what they do in every other classes, with other subjects, with other teachers. They sit in the classroom and listen. Okay? So without a little incentive, it's very difficult for them to realize what they want and to participate. So team competition is a very nice tool for the youth. Personally, I am very against individual sports. Okay, it is struck down on the student's self-esteem. It's a terrible idea for Taiwanese children. Okay, like Paul here said, Taiwanese kids get ridiculed if they're bad, and they get ridiculed if they're really good. So as you can see, if you get a personal score, the one with the most stars, they will get ridiculed, and the one with the least stars will get ridiculed too. Okay, so a team competition would be good. Will be very balanced, because they will get help from their teammates. Okay, and you'll get a sense of competition, so they want to participate. And like you said, you provide incentives if you want to get scores. Here's something that you can get, and if you lose, if you speak Chinese, I'll take 1 point off. That's a very nice class management skill. Okay, so all in all, for your classes, for your collaborative classes with the local teacher, I think the best way, of course, my personal opinion, is to, first of all, you need to consider the curriculum. Like Paul said, everything is on a tight schedule. So even though you want to do something extra, you can only do it when it's outside your assigned class schedules. It cannot be during the class time. That's my advice to you. Number 2 is that your activities, again, should be centered to the local teacher's need, to the curriculum. For example, if this lesson they're talking about prepositions like inside, outside, or next to, or blah blah blah. Your activities and your games should be to complement that. Okay. Now, how would you design that? Something to encourage them to speak to each other. For example, with the prepositions, what I did before was that I like to play a guessing game. For example, they have the basic. I taught them the basic vocab with places like sofa, TV, table, blah blah blah, and they learn the prepositions like next to, under, and such as such. So I taught them to play a guessing game. I give the students an answer. For example, where's the toy? Okay, the toy is maybe under the sofa. So he has the answer. He go out there, and everybody has to ask him. Okay, is it under the table? Is it behind the sofa? Is it next to blah blah blah? So it gets them to ask the question. Okay, and when they get the answer, I give them the dice, and they roll the dice, and they get a very good score, and they're all very happy. Okay, now it's a game that's fun, but also encourage them to ask questions and to answer. So that's the kind of activities that the students will benefit most here in Taiwan. Something that can encourage them to use the vocab they learned and to apply it with the sentence structure they learned in the book.
Did you
Okay.
put them in groups or?
Oh, teams.
Teams. Okay.
Yeah, teams. Okay. So I will have team A and team B. Usually I give them stupid names like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah.
Okay. And your Crouching Tiger team, and they get a score. I say, oh, Crouching Tiger gets a score. So you get to roll the dice, and you roll the dice. 1, no! Everybody cries, and then when they got a 6, I'm like putting them 6 stars. Okay. I also encourage them. If you get 10 scores, you get to do an extra roll, and the students get more excited because they want more scores. Okay. It might be too competitive. Sometimes when the kids. When the kids were so into the competition, they might get, oh, you lose, you made us lose the game. They might point fingers. I usually try to get in there and tell them, hey, come on, you're a team, you gotta work as a team, okay? If you don't want to lose points, you gotta help your teammates, okay? So that's something that the Chinese children are very attracted to, competitions, and especially for primary school kids, okay? It's a good time for you to establish this kind of a practice with them, so they don't get too scared to speak English. Okay. Sometimes I have a lot of routines in my class. For example, I teach a lot of classroom languages at the beginning. For example, I ask them about the weather and something that a routine they have to do every time they enter the classroom. Okay. But soon, of course, they lose interest. So what I did was that I have iPhone, I have Siri. So I will ask them, say, you gotta say, hey Siri, and ask Siri the question, how's the weather today? And the kids were so excited. Okay, they'll do like, hey Siri, you get like 10 kids go, hey Siri, hey Siri, hey Siri. And of course, when they don't pronounce perfectly, the Siri don't respond, right? So when they say, teacher, it's not working. So I go, hey Siri, and my iPhone works. And they're like, why they only listen to your voice? I said, you gotta speak very, very correctly, okay? So they'll keep trying, okay? And then they didn't realize it, but by doing this, by asking the question to Siri, they're actually practicing, okay? But they don't realize it. They're just having fun. Okay. So some of the. I'm sorry, I'm a big iPhone user. Okay. Yeah. You can use Google too if you want.
Yeah, I don't have to.
Yeah. But anyway, something brand new to bring in the classroom, but at the same time centered around how to build all this dialogue, all this practice around the topic they're teaching. Okay, that's something that the school wants most from you. Okay, and if you want extra stuff, for example, like you want to build a debate club, you want to do an English singing club, something like the Pitch Perfect, you guys want to do that? Not everybody's a cup of tea, of course. But if you want to do that, you should do it like. Propose it to the academic director, something to start like an after-school club or something, to do it after school. And trust me, it really yields effect.
That.
Yeah.
They won't have it.
You don't have it?
Just because it's overtime.
Because it's insurance and it's home time and
Okay.
they won't have any.
Oh, too bad.
Kind of after.
Mm-hmm.
But in my school, we do open time in first grade, 25 minutes. So children have open time. We just have like a discussion.
It really is the style of the school. Okay. The deputy director from the DOE
is upstairs, and he would like to have a photo with all of you.